Well, good afternoon, and you're very welcome. And today we're at Upton Heath. Now, it's not one of the better known spots in Poole, but for those that don't know it, I've just walked about, not even quarter of a mile from a car park off Springdale Road. That's just south of Corfmullen, and we're about a mile, two or three miles north of the harbour. This is a walk that's quite local to me, and one I've done very many times, and it's a lovely walk over one of the last remaining bits of heath in this area, indeed along the south coast. It is home to many of the indigenous species of heathland. So we'll get to the iconic viewpoint and we'll pick it up there. So where to start? This is a viewpoint just say down the road from the car park on Springdale Road, and you have this magnificent view right across Poole Bay, the inner harbour, outer harbour. Just about to see the Sandbanks ferry over there, and then you can see the headland. It's got old Harry Rocks over there. You're going right along, and ultimately you end up at Corfe Castle. And sometimes when the weather's half decent, you can actually see Corfe Castle outline over there. So this is an area of special scientific interest. All 6 of the UK reptiles are here, and a mixture of heathland, gorse, heather, bogs, and a number of trees these days. And we can go for a little walk around here. It's not a huge area, unfortunately. So this heathland used to stretch all the way from Christchurch all the way to Dorchester. But sadly now there's only a few very special bits left, and this is one of them. And we can go for a walk round, and we'll see what we can find in the walk. But there'll be some more nice, lovely views like this as we get around. So we're going to head off down this very narrow path. It's been raining very heavily over the last week or so, so we'll probably find some mud. There are many paths over this area. This is one of the less used ones, as you can see, but we'll get back onto the more major tracks later on. But I thought people would like to see both the major tracks and the ones that aren't quite so well populated, because you end up seeing more of the heath when you come this sort of way, and tend to see more wildlife if you're lucky. So we're going to carry on down here, wind our way down, and when we can get to the main tracks, then I'll be able to give some more orientation. So I've just walked a few hundred yards down from the viewpoint down that narrow path, which we're still on. I've got to be a bit careful here because the footing is not great. And we come down to where the heath opens up, and you get an excellent idea of what the heath is all about. And that is your ancient heathland. Now, all that flat area is basically bog. So there's no paths across there. If there are any paths there, that you bet at the moment they're going to be waterlogged. And so we're going to head along this very narrow track down here, which is going to take us around the edge of the heath, and we're probably going to end up very near the major A35, which is where basically the heath ends. You can cross over there, you can go to Upton House, and then do a circular route. So we're going to sort of head, if you imagine we're going in the direction we're looking, and then head to the left, and then do a big circle around to the left, probably ending up on the Castle Main Trail. But there you are, you see in the distance. This is the view of the harbour and hills, and you can just see, if you look very closely, you can see where the hills dip. You can just see the outline of Corfe Castle. Very difficult, and probably won't be picked up that well on the camera, but it is there where the hills dip. So you can see how much of the Purbeck you can see, and we're not in the Purbeck because we're some miles away. Say just to the edge of Corfmullen, just to the north of Broadstone, and Poole Town is down there. As you can see, the harbour and the open sea in terms of Poole Bay. Really is a sort of hidden bit of heathland that the locals here know very well, but perhaps isn't so well known by by visitors, but it's well worth a walk around, particularly if you like your wildlife. We're going to carry on down here and get more to the open part of the heath and the broader paths. As you can see, not many people come this way. It's pretty indistinct, as you can see, but we're heading down there and hopefully we'll meet up with the some of the main paths in a minute. But glorious day, meant to be pouring with rain tomorrow again, but I thought I'd capture the moment today while this weather's so lovely. Back on the main track now, heading down one edge of the heath. We're going off down here and we're heading effectively straight towards the harbour. We're not going to reach the harbour, of course. You can just see some cattle down there grazing. It's part of the land management plans. Look at that sky. That's not bad for November the 4th. It's actually quite warm. So just looking over the heath again, and what we're kind of looking at now is Upton, which is a suburb of Poole. Now, prior to the war, Upton was just a minor hamlet on the road into Poole, completely undeveloped. Then the 39-45 war came along, and there was an American station there, and then from then it became a much more populous area, and the development from Poole gradually crept up and met with Upton, so it's now one conurbation really. And if I could pan around this way, almost back to where we come, but in the direction of almost sort of northwest, then over there is Broadstone. That's again a small village centre, and it's where there used to be a railway station, now a pub, and that railway used to run from Broadstone to Upton and from Broadstone to Poole, and the trackway is now called the Castlemaine Trail, which is both a walking route and a cycle route, and we'll probably be touching that later on. But this is a beautifully tranquil area, and probably not this time of year to see lots of the dragonflies, and or even the odd chance of seeing a snake basking on the pathway. It's just too cold for that now. But it's not uncommon to see the odd snake on the path. They just catch them unawares. Normally adders. Could be a grass snake. We had one of those in our garden not long ago. Clearly come in from the heath, and we did in fact return it from whence it came, which is another story. So we've reached the western edge of the heath now. Now, west is looking up from the harbour, so looking from the south to the north, we're on the western edge. And we're just on one of the better marked trails. Now, there are a number of trails that are marked around the heath. I don't think they're all brilliantly marked, and certainly the minor stuff is definitely not marked where I've been. But the best thing to do if you're walking over this is go over to the Dorset Wildlife Trust site, and it tells you more about the walks and the routes, and I believe you can pick up a leaflet from one of their offices as well. It's quite surprising. I do lots of walking, and it's very rare I get asked for directions, but the most common place I do get asked for directions is on Upton Heath. And I think the reason for that is if people come out with their cars for a walk with their dogs and think they're going to do a quick short circular walk, realise they've walked an awful long way, don't want to go back the way they come, and then are asking, how do I best get back to so and so? And of course we're happy to oblige, but it's not exactly a wilderness. I guess people don't always plan, but anyway, you can see why people get lost in this place, just from a point of view of enjoying it so much and getting the enjoyment out of it with their dogs or with their children. So we're now heading towards the sea, and the path should swing around to the left or to the east shortly, and then we're going to head back along the edge, which is going to be close to the main road, and then we're going to head back towards the viewpoint along through the heath and possibly up onto the Castlemaine Trail. We'll see which way we go. So we've reached the southern boundary of the heath, You can hear the traffic now on the main dual carriageway, the A35, that's coming out of Poole, going towards Bear Regis and Dorchester. We've walked along from the east side of the heath, and now we're going to start heading back on the west side of the heath, back up to the viewpoint and towards where we started. And you'll see a picture of the map of the heath and some contact details for the Dorset Wildlife Trust on top of pictures, as well as in the description I'll put on later on. So let's see where we go from here, shall we? Now, if you were a train in the 1960s, that is where you'd be going. Now a road. That road also, by the way, covered up a World War II gun emplacement near Upton. So this is the Castle Main Trail, which is the old railway line that went from Broadstone to Upton. We're now going to walk along here and veer off onto the left in a minute and head back onto the heath. But as you can imagine, this is a really popular walking and cycling area. And there's a key route down onto the harbour, and actually there's a cycle that goes all the way to Poole and across to Upton House first. So let's pick it up in a minute. So we've turned off the main railway line path, and we're now onto the main path that cuts through the middle of the heath, which is a very popular walking path, and you see lots of people on here. And we're heading uphill now in the direction of where we started, and when we get through this gorse I'll show you where we were at the very beginning of the walk, where we saw those magnificent views of the harbour. Clearly they've gone now because we're in the valley and obscured by the greenery. But when we get to the top of this little bit here, we'll be able to see well, pretty much where we've come, as well as where we started. So up there, you see the flattish bit, and go to the right of that and then back. That's where we were for the viewpoint earlier on. We walked, as we look at the camera now, we walked right to the left and went right over there towards the trees, all the way down to the trees, all the way over there down to the road. You can maybe just hear the road. Then come up the track, is over there in the trees, and then back, cut across onto this current path we're on, which is one of the major paths. It goes through the heath. So that goes there. This winds its way. Given the fact we're going that direction, at the moment it's going this direction, but it winds its way around to the left and starts going quite uphill back to the start. So climbing up the hill, and we're now at one of the access points to the heath over here, and we're just going to wind our way through and head up there. And I should probably be reminding everyone now that whilst this, in the majority, if you stick to the main path, is pretty dry, although there is still mud even on the main path, if you come in winter and you go off track, some of the paths turn into a bona fide stream, and if you're not well equipped, you'll get very, very wet feet. So there you are, you're warned. Come here in winter, wear some decent shoes. So we're coming to the end of our walk. Just up here is back to the viewpoint. Not going to go all the way back to the car park. It's not very interesting, but this is the last bit of the track. It's been uphill for the last third, so I'm breathing a little bit heavily. And if you're a bird watcher or into reptiles or just into heathland, this really is a glorious little spot. So that's probably not visited enough and be appreciated, but it is glorious. And got a setting sun now this afternoon. Tomorrow it's meant to be torrential again. We'll just get to the very top and repeat the view. And this is where we started. That's the gate there, back to towards the car park. And where we started, I used the first shots of the video. There we are. What a view. Isn't that good? So that was probably about a 3.5 mile jaunt round Upton Heath. I really hope you join me on this briefer walk today, but absolutely stunning weather, a stunning place that really ought to be visited. So again, really hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully join me again for the next walk, but I'll sign off here, and I'll include a little map of the walk at the end of this video. See you soon.